Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvise Shashinivari Paschati Vistatani. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadha Shivasari Purvakavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Let me move my camera down. So, Chaitanya Dasi is going to help us. But before we begin, I wanted to share something I think is important, some realization. And I mentioned this before. I don't know if you can remember that far. But I had mentioned a lot of the prayers that we're reading, they're talking about
Hare
hankering.
Krishna. Please forgive me for interrupting. The sound is very low now.
Okay, wait a minute.
It was great, perfect before.
Oh, so there's no understanding why. Oh yeah, I think this cable is bad.
Perfect now.
I think it's a bad cable, actually. So, I don't know if you remember when it was, it's almost 2 months ago, when we were reading the prayers, we were saying that the prayers are a lot about hankering. And I was saying that, either we're hankering for Krishna or we're hankering not for Krishna, for something else. And I think it's like important to just think about this for a minute, because as conditioned souls, we have a problem. And the problem is we like things that, that don't relate to Krishna, isn't it? We like everything but Krishna sometimes, yeah. So just think about this, that in Vrindavan, everyone's happiness is thinking, how can we make arrangements for Radha and Krishna to enjoy? That's what they think about. That's all they think about. That's all they do all day, is how to bring Radha, at least from the Madhurya platform. They're arranging for the meeting of Radha and Krishna. That's what they do. That's what they think about. And it gives them ultimate ecstasy and pleasure to see Radha and Krishna enjoying together. And so they're just hankering for that all the time. How to do that? How can we make Krishna happy? How can we please Krishna? That's like all they think about in Vrindavan. Like that's all it is. Isn't it? That's the only meditation, how Radha and Krishna can enjoy. And what can we do to enhance their enjoyment? That's all they think about, nothing else. That's it. As a devotee develops in his relationship with Krishna, they begin to hanker more and more for experiencing that relationship. They begin to hanker more and more for higher stages of emotion and higher stages in that relationship. That's like where their mind is going. So it's going in two places: how I can satisfy Krishna and how I can relish exchanges of love, how I can experience that. That's like all they think about. As conditioned souls, there's three things we think about: opposite sex, money, and fame. And to be honored, to be recognized, to accumulate, whatever accumulation means for you, accumulate success, accumulate position, accumulate wealth, accumulate followers, accumulate, yeah. Mahaprabhu says followers. Now we really have the literal definition of followers with social media. I want to accumulate followers. I want to be recognized. I want to accumulate friends. I like that. So those are the three things. And as conditioned souls, we desire. And so if you look at your heart, if you look at your mind, you will see how those things come up. Oh, that looks nice. I'd like to have that. Accumulation. That's why in Nectar of Instruction, it says, Atyahara payasascha, the second verse. Don't accumulate too much. Why? Because we all want to accumulate, because we all think of accumulation. The more you have, the happier you'll be, the better you'll be, the better you will have upper hand over other people if you have more and better things, right? Isn't it? So accumulation, like people look at you and they don't really care much about you because you're nobody. But if you drive down the street in a Rolls Royce, they're going to look, well, who's that? That's a 350,000 or more. I don't know how much it costs. At least 350, 400, $500,000 car. Who is that person? They must be somebody special. If you can dress in a way that people think you're special, it's like we can't avoid feeling these things in the beginning stages of bhakti, because this is what it means to be a conditioned soul. So if you ever become like discouraged at your own consciousness, it's just normal. That's what it means to be a conditioned soul in the bodily concept. But when we're practicing devotional service, then Rupa Goswami says, okay, well, don't stop trying to accumulate. Try to be humble, try to control your senses, because all these things are they're just on fire. They're all, do you like to eat, right? Raise your hand if you don't like to eat. Okay, we've got 100% agreement here. It's hard to get devotees to agree on one thing, but here we got agreement. Everyone likes to eat, all right? Raise your hand if you like to overeat. Yeah, so you have vacho vegam. Vacho means the tongue. Manasakota udara vegam means the stomach. So the tongue likes to taste things and the stomach likes to eat more than it needs. That's where udara comes in. If you ever thought that, well, why are they mentioning eating twice? Because one is taste and one is overeating. So do we like to taste nice things? Yes. Do we like to overeat? Yes. Are we attracted to beautiful bodies? Do we like to enjoy? Yes. Yes. That's what it means to be a conditioned soul. Nadanam najanam nasundering. It's the whole thing, right? That's what it means. So now we have a problem, because by nature, these are things we think about. Right. Now for me, I just had breakfast. So in 3, 4, 5 hours, I think, what's for lunch? Right. Then 3, 4, 5 hours, what's for dinner? What do I want to eat? This is because we identify with the body as conditioned souls. And so so we could be very absorbed in thinking about eating. I'm going to go shopping and then I'm going to make this and like this. Quite easy, isn't it? We all know that attraction to the opposite sex, it's the most difficult thing to overcome. And we also know that the attraction for honor is the most difficult thing to control, because they're the same thing. One is gross, one is subtle, but it's the same desire. The desire to be Christian, it's such a strong desire. So I'm just stating this so we kind of get clarity that if we're not hankering for Krishna to think of how I can satisfy him, how I can satisfy Guru, how I can advance, how I can overcome difficulties in my spiritual life. Like for example, there are so many problems we have that we don't even think about overcoming. Isn't it a fact? Like if I asked you, is there something that would make a difference in your life if you overcame that problem? You would all say, yeah, I can think of many things, isn't it? That would make a difference. if I could overcome this problem, it would make a real difference in my life. Just a simple thing, like when it's time to get up, if I just got out of my bed, that would make a difference in my life because I'd get up a half hour earlier than instead of just laying there. But if you think about like what would be something that would really help me that I'm not doing, that I could be doing, but either I'm lazy or I'm not conscious. You could think of things, isn't it? But instead, we're thinking about what's for lunch. That's the problem, right? Yes? I hate to depress you, but I'm just, it's true. So, so we are meant to be cultivating desires that bring us closer to Krishna, whatever they are, whether it's in the form of relationship, whether it's meditating on Krishna Lila, whether it's just overcoming a problem, whether it's a service we could be doing that we're not doing, whatever it is, that's what we're supposed to be hankering for. And every time we hanker for something that's not Krishna conscious, then I know this is going to sound stupid. Then we're hankering for something that's not Krishna conscious. It's like, you know what I'm saying, right? Every time I'm hankering for something, for some honor, for some recognition, for some, I'm becoming attracted, sexually attracted or greedy or whatever it is, I'm hankering for something, but it's not Krishna. And so how can I hanker for non-Krishna and Krishna at the same time? The answer is I can't, unless you're a Sahajiya. That's what Sahajiyas do. They hanker for Radha Krishna Bhav and Gopis love and girlfriends in the same breath. But because they think, well, I have to experience love with a girlfriend so that I can understand the Gopis love. So they got it all mixed up. Fortunately, Prabhupada has given us the Siddhanta, so we don't have it mixed up. So can I hanker for Dhanam, Janam, Sundarim? Can I hanker for those things and hanker for my relationship with Krishna at the same time? They're two different universes. They don't work together. So I just wanted all of us to just meditate on the fact that every time I'm hankering for those things, I'm not hankering for Krishna. And if I were hankering for Krishna, I wouldn't be hankering for those things. So if you're troubled with something that you're hankering for, just think that's because my hankering for Krishna is not strong enough. Now, there's going to be a question on Facebook. If you look at Facebook, there's going to be a question I put out. And this question I asked in one of the workshops I did in England on japa. I may have asked it elsewhere, but definitely in that workshop. And the question was similar to the question we asked in the self-care workshop. How would your life be better if you had more self-care? I asked the question, what problem in your life would be minimized or alleviated if you chanted better japa? Whoa, what a question. It's such a good question. Like if you're struggling with something, you say, yes, Prabhu, you're talking about hankering for things. And yeah, I do hanker more than I should. What to do? So my question is, what of those problems would not be a problem for you if you chanted better japa, if you were making less offenses to the holy name? Because doesn't it make sense, or wouldn't it make sense that if we chanted more purely, there wouldn't really be any major obstacles on our path, that the holy name would purify those obstacles, purify those anarthas? Yeah, that's our philosophy, and it's true. And you all have experience of that when you chant good japa, don't you? Or you go into ecstatic, you have that experience, so we know. So so I'm just putting all these things together. So maybe I'm hankering for things I shouldn't be hankering for. And maybe if I chanted better rounds, I would be hankering for Krishna more than those other things. Not maybe, we would be. And so that's something to think about. And the reason I asked that question is because it oftentimes is difficult to be motivated to chant well, isn't it? Like sometimes devotees write me, I just don't feel like chanting, I'm just not motivated. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've given like 14,000 hours of japa classes just to motivate you. And you're not motivated. And like what to do, what to do, what to do. But this question, I think, is very motivating. When you realize that dangling in front of you is a problem, which the holy name could knock out of the park. That's a baseball term. Knock the ball out of the park. Or it could dissipate like a Brahmastra weapon destroying something. It could dissipate it. That's it's a thought, isn't it? It's something to think about. So I'm just throwing that out for you. It's like, yeah, if I chanted better, maybe this problem wouldn't be there. And then the other side of the equation is, what about this? If I feel like my attachment for Krishna is not as strong as I'd like it to be, I don't always think about pleasing Krishna. I don't always think about Krishna, his qualities, name, form, pastimes when I'm chanting. Maybe I never think about it. I don't feel strongly attracted to hearing about Krishna. There's so many things to hear on YouTube that I like to hear that are not Krishna Katha. I'm not feeling this deep attraction. Alarm bells, like, why? Does that have anything to do with my japa? Probably. Could be. I mean, it could be other things. I'm kind of acting like a doctor here, analyzing, but this is like sometimes you'll see on YouTube, if you feel like this, if you have muscle strain and you have your blurry vision, it's probably because you are deficient in this vitamin or this mineral or this amino acid. Sometimes you see those commercials. So if you are lacking in your attraction for hearing, if you're lacking in your taste, you just don't like to chant, but you like to hear other things, it could be that you're deficient in your japa. Probably is. It's always a good place to look because the natural symptom of advancement in Krishna consciousness is that things related to Krishna are attractive. Like when you're doing well in bhakti and you see the deity somehow or other looks more beautiful than it did yesterday. Have you ever had that experience? Wow, the deity's so beautiful today. No, he was beautiful yesterday also. You know, you're more beautiful today than you were yesterday, and therefore you see the deity more beautiful. Oh, the holy name is so sweet today. Yeah, well, you're sweeter today than you were yesterday. But Krishna's always beautiful, he's always sweet. And so a symptom of advancement in Krishna consciousness is ruchi, taste, that my attraction and taste for chanting is increasing, my attraction and taste for hearing, all these things increase. So that's why it's very alarming when we say, I don't like to chant, I don't have a taste for chanting. It's not a sign that, well, I'm just not a japa person. I wasn't born for japa. I was born for kirtan. But japa, it's like boring. I'm not active. I can't just sit there and like be all sattvic and everything. I'm a japa man. I'm not a japa man. I'm an active man. Give me some service. Give me big kirtan. Help me. I'll organize a festival. But sit down, chant japa. That's not me. It's not my cup of tea. We can't think like that because that is Krishna's name, and the sign of advancement is that one is attracted to chanting Krishna's name. Could you imagine you're reading the biography of Narottam Das Thakur, and it's describing all these songs he wrote and the kirtans he was doing, and then in the biography, yeah, but he wasn't into japa. Wouldn't you be confused? You're like, wait a minute, that's not possible. How could he not be into japa? It doesn't make sense. You'd be like, who edited this book? This is a misprint, I got to call the author. Yeah. It's natural. Like Rupa Goswami, he was writing many verses and he was writing dramas and he was analyzing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And but he really wasn't into kirtan. He didn't really like kirtan. You would think, no, there's something wrong there. He didn't like deity worship, but he really was adverse to deity worship. He had no attraction for it. If he didn't do deity worship, or it's because he was fully engaged in creating deities in the form of books, but not that he wasn't attracted to it. So that's important to understand, right? So going back to the original point, which is that prayer is a hankering, and so that we should be hankering for what like if I were to ask you right now, like, what's your next level? Like, what's your next step in advancement? Like, what's the next thing, the next place you want to be, or the next thing you want to do, or like, what is it? Like, what's the next thing? You might just say, I want to finish the Bhagavatam, then I need to make more time to do it, or I want to learn some shlokas, and I'm not learning shlokas or enough, and I want to set it. It could be something simple, like next level, like this is just not next level, but it's just additional level, something that I'm not doing. But maybe there's next level also. Next level might be like a taste for something, a greater taste, or deeper understanding of some aspect of bhakti. I don't have a, a deeper understanding of something about bhakti. I need to go deeper and understand. This is what I need to do. So if you think about your life, you could naturally think, what do I need next? What's on my agenda for my next level of advancement? That's what we should be hankering for. And every time we hanker for something material, it's just taking away the energy for hankering for something spiritual. Does that make sense? It's really simple, isn't it? It's so simple, but Maya is so powerful that she's just like, I'm over here. Let's go this way. Do you want this? This will make you happy. What's really interesting about bhakti, and I was explaining this somewhere. I was like in 7 different places or 6 places that I can't remember where. And most of you were in none of those places, so maybe you watched it on Facebook. But if you study our Shastra, especially in the stage of like Bhajana Kriya and Artha Nivritti, earlier stages of bhakti, you will clearly see that it's not so much in bhakti, it's not so much a position of that we are attracted to Krishna right away. It's more of a position of tolerating all the things that are getting in the way. That's where you put your energy. You put your energy in atyahara payasascha prajapani, like don't eat too much. Atyahara payasascha. Don't collect too much. Don't talk nonsense. Don't talk about things that just pull your consciousness away from Krishna. Don't associate with people who are going to pull you away from Krishna. It's like it's all about be in an environment where you're not going to be pulled away by the temptations, which we have millions of temptations. Don't allow yourself to be in environments where your temptations will take over. And Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krota Vegam, yeah, control what you say. You know, you know this Vacho Vegam, you know the verse from it's from the Nectar of Instruction, Vacho Vegam Manasa. Vacho Vegam Manasa, mind, Kroda, anger, Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pasta Vegam, stomach in general. If you can control all these, then you can control basically it says if you can control these, you can control the world. You can make disciples all over the world, which basically means you are a person in control of yourself. So we have so many verses about tolerance, but verses about controlling anger and controlling. So the assumption is, why would you have to control something if it's not there? Like, control your what? Who can think of something that none of us desire? You need to control your desire to step on snails. Like, any of you like stepping on snails? Of course not. So Shastra is not going to say, control your desire to step on snails, because nobody has that desire. It's only talking about the desires that are inherent within the conditioned soul, right? So it's saying you have a path to go, and until you have an attraction fully developed to go towards that goal, there are going to be things on that path that are going to deviate you. They're going to go, hello, I'm over here. Why don't you come with me? We'll have fun. And so Shastra is saying, the better you are at tolerating those things, the faster you're going to get to your goal, and the faster you're going to get to a natural attraction for Krishna, where I wouldn't even have to talk about all this. Everything I said, if you were on the stage of Ruchi, would be irrelevant to you right now, because you would have a natural attraction for all these things. So Shastra is saying, yeah, naturally we have attraction for all these things, so we have to control them. And the better you are at controlling them, the more quickly you're going to become attracted to Krishna. And as you become attracted, you're going to start hankering more for Krishna. And then all these prayers of the acharyas are going to make sense to you, because you'll also be feeling like, yeah, I'm feeling the same way they're feeling, or somewhat like they're feeling. I want these higher levels of bhakti. So now when we look at prayer, we can see basically prayer is going to, obviously it reflects the level of the devotee praying. So some prayers we look at, they're very high. They're talking about lila, they're talking about realizations of the pastimes, or hankering for Baba. And some of the prayers are talking about the temptations of this world and praying not to give in. And some prayers are just appreciating mercy. But wherever you're at, and most of us are at the where we're praying to be attracted to higher levels of bhakti. We're praying to tolerate our mind and senses, control ourselves. We're praying to be able to come to that next level, whatever your next level is. That's the idea. Does that make sense? So I want to emphasize, before we go on, something which I've emphasized a lot, but if something is important, I will emphasize it like till I die. When I die, you'll have like 10 things you can write a little article. These are the 10 things that he said 10 million times because he thought they were important. And this is one of them. That when we confront our conditioned nature as conditioned souls, we're wondering, why after so many years of chanting do I still feel like, why did I get upset that so-and-so did better than I did? I was like so upset that he distributed more books than I did, and he got #1, and everyone was clapping for him. And when they saw me, they're like, yeah, whatever. You did okay, but he won. Why was I so upset? You ever gone through that one? You weren't the top dog for the day and you get upset. You couldn't control everything and you get upset. Why'd they put him in charge? Why'd they put her in charge? Why not me? And then you go home frustrated, and then you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, like, what, am I a devotee or what am I? Like, why am I acting this way? You ever go through that one? The answer is yes, if you didn't understand the question. The answer is yes, you have. And we could give a million examples of those things you've gone through. And you're thinking, like, am I actually a devotee? Does this process work? Like, what's going on? I thought I was over with this. And it's like, it's like alive and well within me. It just, it didn't get stimulated for a few months. And I thought, oh, it's gone. It's like the summer, I'm healthy, and the winter comes and I'm sick. I thought I was finally healthy because I didn't get any colds in the summer. You ever have that experience? Like I'm invincible, and then winter comes and I get like pneumonia. So it's something like that. So is that discouraging when that happens? Yes or yes? COC. C. It's discouraging, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's so discouraging. So one of my Mahavakya, Maha means great, Vakya means words, saying. One of Mahatma's great sayings is that if you are experiencing that, what I just described, you are perfectly normal. Congratulations, there's nothing wrong with you. You are not an avatar. This is proof that you're not an avatar, and it's proof that you're a normal, conditioned soul. Welcome to the material world. You're a normal, conditioned soul. But the message is, hello, normal conditioned souls. Hello, earthlings, normal conditioned souls. The message is, it's not a problem, but the message is, it's something we all have to tolerate on the path. That's the message. Don't get discouraged. Don't smash the wall. Don't give up. Don't throw your bead bag away. Don't stop reading and just, chocolates and what's it? Netflix. Don't surrender to chocolates and Netflix. You're just a conditioned soul. And it's just something you have to tolerate on the path. Now, I will say there is another side to this. I will say if your sadhana is better and you're advancing more, these things will be less. The frequency, both in how often it happens and the intensity, the frequency, intensity, both of them will reduce because as you come closer to Krishna, you're more experiencing the bliss of Krishna consciousness and becoming purified. But we have some examples in Shastra which are meant to like chasten us, wake us up, shake us up. And, you could be discouraged by these examples, but you have these examples of devotees who are very advanced and then they fall. You know those examples? But let's look at a really interesting example. We have the example of Bilva Mangala Thakur. Bilva Mangala Thakur is such an interesting example. You know the story, but I will tell the story again and I'll give you the Mahatma purports to it that relate to what we're talking about now. So Bilva Mangala Thakur, he's a Brahmin, he's pure and everything, and then he starts hanging out with the wrong people. And his friends are like, like in university, the party animals. Well, he starts hanging out with party animals and they're drinking and this and that. They're going, picking up girls, like all of that, believe it or not. So that's what happened to him. And so he started seeing prostitutes. And to make a long story short, he went to see, it's interesting. Prabhupada sometimes calls her a prostitute and sometimes calls her a girlfriend. But this was a prostitute because I think he was paying. He was paying his girlfriend. But you have to pay your girlfriend. You have to take her out. So Prabhupada says it's kind of the same thing. Girlfriend and prostitute, it just depends what angle you're looking at it and how you want to describe it. But his relationship with her was a sexual relationship. That's what it was mainly for, which is the way many relationships are today, isn't it? They are based on sexual relations. And ladies, if a man is attracted to you only for your beauty, what's going to happen when you're 50 years old and there's a bunch of 25-year-old girls walking around? You cannot compete. Even when you're 40, you can't compete. What's going to happen? Yeah. And girls, if you're really beautiful, then you're really in trouble. Because at some point, you're not going to be as beautiful as you used to be. And if that man was attracted to you primarily for your beauty, Hare Krishna. Well, you could take sannyas at that point. Well, women can take sannyas. You could renounce. But so it's a big storm. Nobody would go out. It was like a hurricane. And Bill Mangal Thakur is like, I have to see my girlfriend. I'm addicted. And she didn't think he was coming, so she locked the gate. And, anyways, this is a long story. But basically, he risked his life, climbed over the gate, I think, pulled himself up by a snake. He went across the river holding onto a dead body that he thought was a log, big storm. So he shows up at her house and she's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. You're here to see me during a hurricane, basically, risking your life. Wow, you are crazy." And then she said, "You know, if you had that much bhakti, as much bhakti for me, devotion and determination to be with me, if you had that for Krishna, just imagine what kind of great devotee you would be and how much love you would have and all that." And the lights went off because, he was younger. It all clicked. The lights went off. He said, "Wow, that's so true." And he decided on the spot he was going to give his life to Krishna and give up these sexual pursuits and become a renunciate. But here's the interesting part, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you ever paid attention to this, but this is so interesting. So I don't think he went that night. He probably went the next day. He decided, I'm going to go to Vrindavan. I'm traveling to Vrindavan. I'm going to devote my life to Krishna, right? But remember, he had a weakness for beautiful women. So on the way, he saw a beautiful woman. She was the wife of a Brahmin. I don't know. She's someone's wife. I don't know if a wife of a Brahmin. Maybe, yeah. And so her husband came up to him and said, "Oh, can I help you with something?" He said, "Yeah, I want your wife." He said, "Actually, I want the hairpins, your wife's hairpins." And so, as you may know the story, he took those hairpins and poked his eyes out. What was he doing? This is really interesting. Think about this. What was he doing? His eyes were his problem. His major problem were his eyes. And he knew, if I'm not going to go after any women if I can't see them. I'm not going to it's not going to be a problem. So I have to create a situation in my life where I'm not going to be allured by women. So I just poke my eyes out. Like he couldn't, at that point, he couldn't overcome that attraction just like that because he's a conditioned soul, and everyone conditioned soul, unless they're on a very high level of bhakti, is attracted to the opposite sex. Whether they engage with the opposite sex or not is another thing, but they're all attracted. You look in the Bhagavatam, describes the alluring nature of women, how they're so attractive. So what did he do? Let's analyze what he did. He removed the temptation from his life. He couldn't give it up, but he removed it. So like, if you're attracted to something, remove it from your life. Otherwise, this little thing here, you've seen one of these before, right? You know what these are, right? Well, these things are good to have off in the morning when you're doing sadhana, because it's really easy to like get diverted by them, right? Have you ever got diverted by one of these while you're doing sadhana? Yeah. Well, no, I asked the questions in the wrong way. Have you ever not been diverted by one of these during sadhana? Raise your hand if you've never turned your phone on during sadhana. Okay, we got 100% buy-in here. All right. All right. It is the age of distraction, and this is the vehicle of distraction. This is the vehicle of the 10th offense. And you should write on your phone, the vehicle of the 10th offense, right here. So when you pick it up while you're chanting, you'll realize that now I'm making an offense to the holy name. So, but you understand my point. It's like Bilba Mangala Thakur is like, look. He was like, okay, I want to be Krishna conscious. I have this weakness. I'm a conditioned soul. I have to figure out how to deal with it in a way where I don't get entrapped by it. Right? So what do we do in our lives? We get good association. We surround ourselves with people who don't have the same attachments we have, right? Association is so important, isn't it? So You know, you ever gone to the temple in complete Maya and then like 5 seconds later you're dancing in the kirtan and you're like, and you're thinking, why was I so stupid to not go to the temple for so long? I need this sanga. Have you ever had that experience? Like you just immediately get in the sanga. You know what's so interesting about the sanga? How many devotees do we have here on the, we have 26 devotees here, right? You know what's so interesting about this sanga? All 26 of us could be in Maya, but when we come together, we won't be in Maya. Isn't it? Isn't that interesting? Yes? You can take 26 devotees kind of in Maya, and they all come together, and we're all 26 of us are inspiring one another. We're no longer in Maya. Well, that's the power of Sangha. But the point is that whatever it is that you are struggling with or dealing with, you have to create some fortress around it so it doesn't become a problem for you. That's part of the tolerance. That's part of what Atyahara Payasas Cha Prajapa Niyamagraha. It's part of the process. There were two devotees when I was president in 1970. Anybody want to come over to my office and clean it? I've been gone for 7 weeks and the cockroaches had a festival that while I'm giving class, I'm looking at, you know what, the remnants of the cockroach festival. Hare Krishna. I didn't have time to clean it. This is like when we were supposed to have done something to my office so the cockroaches would all leave. They like it here in Florida. Anyway, got to be tolerant, right? So, so this is an example of tolerating, creating, you're tolerating something so it doesn't become a problem for you because you know this attachment could be a real problem and you have to be careful. So that's an example of an exalted devotee who fell down. We have another example. You know the example of Jad Bharat, but these are all transcendental examples. But Jad Bharat was on the stage of Bhava. This is inconceivable because Bhava is preliminary to love of Krishna. It's a stage right before love of Krishna. How could somebody fall from that stage? The stage of ecstasy. When you realize your relationship with Krishna and you realize that the name of Krishna and Krishna are the same, that's what happens in the stage of Bhava, and you manifest transcendental symptoms, physical, and you manifest extreme attachment for the service of Krishna. You know what happened to Jad Bharat? It wasn't actually his attachment to that deer that was the problem. It was that by being attached to that deer, he stopped doing his sadhana and just took care of the deer. He stopped sadhana. Did you know that? You think, oh, it's because he was attached to a deer. No, because he was attached to a deer that he stopped, he gave up his sadhana, had no time for it. And because he gave up his sadhana, he fell down. So now we take, as I mentioned, we take 26 devotees who are all in Maya and they come together and they're Krishna conscious, right? You take individually each devotee, we all have the potential to be like Jad Bharat. If we could, if we stop our sadhana, if someone stops their sadhana and they fall from bhava, like what about little old you and me? So conditioned souls need good sadhana, need sangha, need to chant properly, and we have to tolerate our minds and senses in the process of becoming Krishna conscious. Now, another thought, and this is another Mahavakya, which I haven't said a lot. I don't even know if I've said it at all, but I will say it now, maybe for the first time. Sustainability. I mean, I've talked about this before. What does sustainability mean? You might be doing great now in your bhakti. Congratulations, that's good. I want to see in 10 years how you're doing. That's a much bigger, you've been around a few years and you're eating pakoras and sweet rice and you're jumping up and down and you're young and free and you're like not married with kids and working a corporate job and, well, some of you are. But the beginning of devotional service, it's like, it's like you just ran out of the race as fast as you can. Yeah, come back in 10 years. Let me see how you're doing. That's the test, sustainability, not just a few years. So finding your rhythm, finding your sadhana, finding where your weak points are and preventing yourself from giving into them, finding your strong points and magnifying them. And these are all the things we need to pray for so that we can sustain our bhakti year after year after year after year. And it's really difficult to sustain it if you don't know the philosophy deeply, because if you don't know the philosophy deeply, your faith weakens. And there's so many things that can weaken your faith because there's so much stuff floating around on the internet. When I was a young devotee, as you know, there was no internet. So there was there was not much floating around. Different philosophies and ideas. We only heard them when we were out in Sankirtan and we talked to people and they'd say, well, this is what I believe. But other than that, it wasn't predominant like it is now. So understanding the philosophy deeply, so when other philosophies come up, you can see the holes in them. It doesn't disturb your faith. Steady in sadhana. Now, another problem devotees have is they're doing good in sadhana, and something changes. They move. They go to college, university, or they graduate, they get a job, or then they get married, or they have a kid. Something changes, and the whole castle, the whole fort collapses. So you want to create a sadhana steady in your life that no matter what happens, the castle doesn't crumble. That's sustainability that's necessary. So we have to be attached to them.
Hare Krishna.
Same problem?
Yes.
Better now? Yes? All right, I have to remember to replace the cable. I thought it was a good cable, or it's a bad microphone. I don't know. It's probably the cable, I hope. So, yeah, sustainability is really, really important. And all this is important because we can go back to Godhead in this lifetime if we do everything properly. And so if you do it kind of half-half, then you have to come back in the next life to finish up the other half that you didn't finish up in this life. So why would you want to do that? Right? Yes? Yeah. So, it's like Jesus said, the path is narrow. And the other thing is that's important. These are just things that have been on my mind lately. The other thing that's important is that each one of you individually has your own, like, what's best for you path. And what's best for you is not necessarily the path that your next door neighbor is taking. And so if you look at the path of your next door neighbor, you think, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. I should be doing it, but maybe you can't do it. Then you get discouraged because you can't do it and you think there's something wrong with you when it was actually that was not your diet, not meant for you. So you have to find your own level and then you progress from that level, whatever that level is. And, if it's not like ultimately what you want it to be right now, that's okay. Just keep working on it. But you can't make it something that you can't make it until you're able to make it. So just, deal with what you have. The cards that you've been dealt with, deal with those. Okay, that's my introduction. That only took 50 minutes, but I think that's important. So now you know what to pray for, right? Yes? See? Central Bhakti, see? Hare Krishna. Hmm. Okay. Any questions so far before we read the verse or the prayer? Hmm.
Some comments.
Hmm. Some comments. Comments. How did you say that? Comments?
Sorry, comments.
Comments. That's
And
all for
one
the.
and one question just arrived.
Mm. This is from the Bible. And if your hand, even your stronger hand, causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. Wow. The Christians are heavier than the devotees, but they don't live that way, do they? Because they're forgiven. So, yeah. You've been forgiven. You don't have to cut your hand off. It's okay. Lord Chaitanya said a similar thing. He said, if you're meditating on something, on doing something that would destroy your spiritual life, better you kill yourself. So, because if you kill yourself, you only lose your body. But if you don't kill yourself and you engage in that, you'll lose your soul. So, whether he meant to actually kill yourself or it was figurative, that's another thing. But you understand the point. Better lose your body than your soul, right? Okay. Giving up social media was the best decision I made for my sadhana, Instagram and TikTok especially. Yes, everyone should follow the example of Juliana. And you know what happened the other day? My wife and I, we went to this place and they don't want you to use your phone in this place. So they give you a case. And then you close the case and you can't open the case. You take your phone with you, you put it in a locker. And when you bring the case back, they have to open it for you. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. We should have those for retreats, like we don't, and like if you want your phone, you only like 1 hour a day or something. And then we open it for you. So, but you could also, if you're married, you can give it to your partner. Say, hold this phone. Don't give it back to me until 8 o'clock. The vehicle of the 10 offenses. Put that stick. Okay. Priyanka's going to make a sticker and she's going to send everyone a sticker to put it on their phone. That would be cool, right? How could we do that? We could make a sticker. It's kind of like it sticks, but you could pull it off and then put it on the back of your phone. And then when you want to be reminded, it just goes, one of those stickers that kind of just, I don't know chemically how it does it, but it's like plastic. It just holds on naturally to the glass. That would be good. We could sell at least 1 million of those. All the devotees would buy it. Maybe at ILS, I'll just do a talk on your phone. That's the 10th offense, your phone. All right, Priyanka, get on it. We're waiting for it. We'll give them out at the next retreat. This class is really what I needed to hear today and every day. How to use our devices as if we're doing online japa with devotees. Yeah, that's okay. Um, you can only use your phone for online japa during sadhana. That's fine. But once it's over, yeah, you just have to be careful. I had a godbrother and he said he never chanted japa in the same room as his computer because he would just think about, the 80 emails he hasn't answered. And it was so easy just to stop chanting and answer them because the early morning is a good time to concentrate so you could answer emails faster. I make less typos early in the morning. I make more typos later. So more efficient. So it's just a strategy, like when you can't trust yourself, I can't trust myself in this situation. So we'll just don't go in that situation. That, it's like that. I can't trust myself near my computer in the morning. All right, well, don't go near it. I can't trust myself near my phone and just turn it off. Put it, put it somewhere it's hard to get. You just work with yourself. Okay. So now we can start with the quote for today. Let's hear it. This is from Gopinath Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Gopinath Mama Nivedana Shuno. Visai Dhurjana Sada Kama Rata Kinchu Nahi Moraguna. O Gopinath, Lord of the Gopis, please hear my request. I am a wicked materialist, always addicted to worldly desires, and no good qualities do I possess. So, it's natural to wonder, like, why is Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying this? Is he just playing the part of a conditioned soul? Does he actually feel this way? And Prabhupada answered it, yes, he does feel this way. And he is also speaking this for our benefit. Uh, Sometimes it's a little challenging to understand how someone so elevated could feel so low. But I think the way to understand it is that naturally we understand that as someone advances, they become more humble. As someone is less advanced, they become more proud. So the sign of being more proud is what? I think I'm advanced. I went to Mangalarti today. I chanted really good rounds. I read for 2 hours. I'm feeling detached. I'm advanced. That's how someone who's not advanced feels. Now, you might feel advanced relative to how you were yesterday because you slept in all morning. So that's valid that you're feeling spiritual strength. But if you were actually advanced, you would feel like lower than everybody. And you may not be able to understand why or how that's possible. But for the sake of this discussion, we just understand that that's how it is. The Shastra says, those who have love of Krishna, the nature of that love is they feel they don't have it. That's just the nature of it. That's, like if I say I don't have love, if you say you don't have love, it's like, yeah, we all say, yeah, we're not on that level. It's just objective. But someone who has love, when they say they don't have love, it's a sign that they have it. It's just the way it is, right? So, um, so now another thing we see from the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya that if a pure devotee has momentarily a thought of anything other than Krishna, like for 1 second, they will think, oh, I'm the lowest, worst person. For 1 second, I thought about myself. And so they can write a song like this. I'm wicked, lowly, materialistic. Why? Because I forgot Krishna for 1/12 of a second. So that proves I'm lowly, wicked, materialist. Right? So now the next question is, all of you are looking at this thinking, all right, so if he thinks he's like that, what am I? And how do I understand this? And how do I imbibe this without becoming completely discouraged? And I think the idea from this is, one idea is that we don't become discouraged, but we become realistic about where we're at. And because if you become realistic about where you're at, then it's an impetus to do better. So, I could be better. Could you be better? Could you be better than you are now? Yes or yes. So that's kind of the mood of this. Yeah, if I could, we could all write our own prayers, right? I am addicted to Instagram. I overeat. I waste time. You just can write your own thing. And after class, you can write your own prayer. And so why would you want to write it? Just as an impetus to confront the reality of how I waste time and where my weaknesses are. So I stopped giving into them. We all have weaknesses, don't we? We all waste time with some weakness, right? Whatever it is. As you advance in Krishna consciousness, the sign of advancing is you don't waste time. Every second is used for Krishna service. But if every second that's not, you have this song here to write. Oh, and of course you exaggerate it. I waste for 1 second. I looked at TikTok, and then your prayer is, I'm addicted to TikTok. That's what you would say if you had love of Krishna, because that 1 second to you was like, yeah, that was 1 second not Krishna conscious, so I'm addicted. So that's how we understand this. And it's also, in doing this, he's also betraying the qualities of materialistic people. And these are just like things for us to look at. Yeah. So, um, what does it mean to have no good qualities? Well, one who doesn't love Krishna has no good qualities. But we don't want to be so pessimistic. We can recognize that we have some good qualities, but there's obviously a lot of good qualities that we don't have. And even amongst the good qualities we have, we can have more, deeper, better. Okay, let's hear the next verse. It's going to be more of the same. Gopinath Amara Bharasha Tumi Tomara Charane Loyano Sharana Tomara Kinkora Ami. But Gopinath, you are my only hope, and therefore I have taken shelter at your lotus feet. I am now your eternal servant. So this is beautiful because reading the first verse, one could think, okay, so sounds pretty depressing. Maybe he's gonna, throw in the towel, as we say. You have that saying in your country, throw in the towel. Do you have that? And oh yeah, so it's like somebody's translating me and they're like, throw in the towel? What towel? Throw in the towel. I don't know where it comes from. Throw in the towel means give up. I don't know. Maybe you're in the sports team and you're in the locker room and you're just like they give you a towel and it's like I give up. Throw in the towel. I don't know. Our saying would be throw in the bead bag. So you read verse 1 and it sounds like, oh, he's ready to throw in the bead bag. That'll be the new throw in the towel, throw in the bead bag, right? He's ready to throw in the bead bag. No. What's being said in verse 2? Verse 2 is saying, the phrase comes from boxing in which a fighter indicates surrender by throwing a towel into the ring. Oh, good to know. We learned something. If you didn't learn anything else today, you learned what throw in the towel means. Well, yeah. There was a fighter, he walked into the ring and he saw his opponent and he walked out of the ring. He said, I'm not fighting. Threw in the towel before the fight started. Yeah. Don't do that, ladies and gentlemen, with Maya. So, what he's saying in this verse, the first verse sounds hopeless, doesn't it? And the second verse is full of hope. Why? Because Krishna, I have you. So it's like, eh, I'm already stupid enough to become a devotee and think I can conquer Maya. So it's like, might as well not turn around now and just go, okay, I'm going to do it. Like, Maya, watch out. I'm coming. I've got the holy name. You can't stop me. Hare Krishna. I've got Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. It's like, I'm fallen, I'm lowly, I'm weak, I'm this and that. But Krishna, I have you, so let's do it. March on, forward ho, we're going to succeed. That's what he's saying. Yes? Okay, the next verse. Gopina kemane shodhiva more, na jane bhakti kama jare mati, parechi shamshara ghore. Well, Gopinath, how will you purify me? I do not know what devotion is, and my materialistic mind is absorbed in fruitive work. I have fallen into this dark and perilous worldly existence. So it's another way of saying, purify me. By saying, how will you purify me? It's like, I'm a case, I'm a special case. Oh, doctor, I'm really sick. How will you cure me? Is another way of saying, you got to pull out, some magic do some magic on me. I'm a special case. I need, special attention. So that's okay if you feel this way, because you're asking for special mercy, and every devotee wants mercy, and every devotee begs for special mercy. And certainly we need it. And so he's showing us that we should ask for it. But as I've said before, don't ask for mercy and then go to sleep. It's not fair. Prabhu, can you help me? Sure. And then I go to sleep. Oh, the bed's over there. Can you move it? I'm not going to move the bed. You help. You asked me to help you. You didn't ask me to do it myself. So you're asking Krishna to help you. So Krishna says, okay, what you want me to help you do, you have to do what you want me to help you. Right? Yes? You got to do something. Krishna, help me. And Krishna says, what are you going to do? I said, I'm just going to ask for help. That's it. Nothing more than that. No, Krishna's like, forget you. Call me up when you're ready to do something. For now, I'm not going to help you. You don't want to do anything. Hey, Prabhu, can you help me cook? Sure. Here's the pan, here's the rice, here's the dal, here's the vegetable. Wake me up when you finish. No, it's not the way it works. Right? Okay, next verse. Upena shakalitamara maya nahi mama bala gyana suni mala swadine nahi kaya. Oh, Gopinath, everything here is your illusory energy. I have no strength or transcendental knowledge, and this body of mine is not independent and free from the control of material nature. In other words, I'm helpless. Who can conquer Maya? He's basically saying Maya is inconquerable. And, only by your mercy can I do this. And as we said, we're conditioned souls. Like, Krishna, I'm a conditioned soul. You want me to overcome Maya? That's impossible. So it's like he's stating how we all feel, right? We all feel. Don't you feel that way? Like, who am I to conquer Maya? Like, that's crazy. But I'm trying to be a devotee, which basically means I'm trying to conquer Maya. That's what it means to be a devotee. So Prabhupada said in Bhagavad Gita, when you become devotee, you have declared war on Maya. It's like, you are declaring war on Maya. Who do you think you are? Like, you can conquer Maya? Yes, I can conquer Maya because Krishna will help me. So he's just restating like that fact. Krishna, I declare war on Maya only because of your help. And so if you don't help me, I can't do it. So like, I'm just depending on you to help me. So that's the idea. It's like restating the facts, reminding Krishna. Krishna, I just want to remind you that the only reason I became a devotee is because you promised you would help me. So I'm over here, like right here I am, and I need help. Like that. That's part of what prayer means. And you see a lot of prayers like that in Shastra, where devotees praying. It's like, Mahaprabhu, there's many fallen devotees, but I'm one of the most fallen and I need your help. So don't kick me away. Don't forget me. I need you. It's really, really beautiful. And, when Krishna sees you praying that way, Krishna comes to your rescue. If you don't pray that way, then Krishna will go to someone who's praying that way. Think about it, Prabhupada's passing out cookies. You better put your hand out if you want a cookie. If you don't put your hand out, you're not going to get one. Right? So that's the idea. Okay, next. Text 5. Gopinath Niyatacharana Stana Mage e pamara kandiya kandiya korobe koruna dhana. O Gopinath, this sinner, who is weeping and weeping, begs for an eternal place at your divine feet. Please give me him your mercy. So here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is revealing really what he's asking for. Stita duli sadrisham vichinta, just give me a place at your feet. That's what I want. That's really what I'm asking for. Can you reserve a spot at your feet for me? That's what I want. And can you help me qualify to get there? Because wanting it is part of it, but we have to be qualified. So can you help me qualify so that you can fulfill this desire? That's the idea. So we can all, copy these prayers, these moods in our life. So you have any questions? Now we can take some questions. I just read yesterday something. Not yesterday. I was staying in London at a devotee's home, and devotee had all these signs that I guess were taken down from somewhere. Prabhupada quotes, and Prabhupada said, if you try to love Krishna, you will realize how much Krishna loves you. Wow, is that nice? And I was again reminded of how important it is to remember that Krishna loves us. And to think that he doesn't is really offensive to him, isn't it? Like if someone loves you and you say, no, you don't, that's offensive. And that in order to love ourselves, we need to know that we're loved by Krishna, because part of what it means to have low self-esteem is to think I'm unworthy of love. And then if you know Krishna loves you, then, worthy, unworthy, you now become worthy of his love. So you can love yourself. That's just a side dish to this class. But I wanted to mention that because it's such a nice quote. If you try to love Krishna, you will realize how much Krishna loves you. And as I've said, another Mahavakya, that everything we're doing in Krishna consciousness is to try to love Krishna. Of course, we want to love Krishna. That's our nature. That's inherent within us. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sharukavanoli. It's inherent within us. But also we want to love Krishna because he loves us. And so we want to reciprocate with his love. Right? So I'm trying to love Krishna. I'm realizing how much he loves me. And then by realizing how much he loves me, I want to love him more. Right? Correct? Yes. This two-dimensional Zoom world is like, it misses 80% of the emotions are lost in cyberspace, isn't it? First workshop I did online was to devotees in England. That was a real challenge. I don't recommend, if you're ever going to do a Zoom workshop for the first time, don't do it to English people. Because it's already hard enough to entertain people on Zoom and get some emotional response, what to speak of. With British people, they're hard enough live in person. That was really tough. Oh my God. My best jokes didn't work. Of course, they're British, so they don't understand American humor. I think it was probably the first time they also did a workshop on Zoom, so I think everybody was uncomfortable. But anyway, we have a question from Juliana. How can we practically apply these prayers to our life or be able to meditate on them if these feelings seem so incredibly unattainable right now in our stage? You have to translate them into your level. So how on your level would it make sense? Because you can't imitate it. If you try to imitate it, it doesn't work. Because it doesn't, it's like you're trying to drive a race car or something. So everything in Krishna consciousness, you need to translate into you. Like right now, what does this mean for you? Because if you try to make it mean what it means for somebody else, like for Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and make that mean it for you, it doesn't work because it doesn't mean that. But so we understand what it means for him, and then what's the principle that I can adopt and apply to what it means for me. So it's so important to always apply Krishna consciousness within your context. Otherwise, you'll really have a difficult time because you'll be applying it to someone other than yourself because you're not Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And if you're trying to apply it the way he applies it, then you're applying it to him, not to you. And then it doesn't work. So that's true for everything. Try to understand. Sometimes someone gives a class and it's just like, wow, that was a heavy class, but none of it applies to you. I was thinking of writing a book. Anyone wants to help me write this book? It would be interesting. It's going to be called Sounds Right, Feels Wrong, How Transcendental Knowledge, how when transcendental knowledge doesn't relate to us. In other words, the person who's speaking it is speaking it on a plane which doesn't relate to us. So everything he says, it's right, but we don't feel it. It's just like this class didn't feel right. It's like I'm not inspired. So if somebody speaks like that, that's unfortunate, but you have to, I mean, it's better if they speak to you, they know where you're at and speak to you. But if they don't, then you have to take that and say, well, how does this make sense to me? Right? Because there's so much in our philosophy that is so strict and austere and elevated that doesn't really relate to most of us because we're preaching to a world of people who never knew about Krishna, who are coming, right from materialistic life of millions of lifetimes. And so it's got to be like really well adapted and translated to make sense for them. And then you get all these rules and regulations, which if you try to follow, you would just end up like discouraged because it's too hard to follow all of them. You wouldn't be blissful. So then you have to understand the essence of them and understand what you can apply to them. And some people giving a class they like rules. So their whole class is about how to follow rules. You ever hear one of those classes? Why you need to follow this rule and why this rule is important, but it may miss relating to everyone that's listening to it. And then 10 years down the road, you find out actually that rule wasn't even that important anyway. It was just the person giving the class like rules. So the way Prabhupada dealt with it, it was always like, is following this rule going to help anything? Because if I follow this rule and it doesn't help me, then what's the point of the rule? I follow the rule and now I'm discouraged. So the rules are they're meant to help you remember Krishna, not forget him. So you could follow rules that help you forget Krishna. That doesn't make sense, does it? So, Juliana, you know what you need. So you take these prayers and you relate it to what you need and where you're at and what's important. It's like what's important to you now. It won't be important to you 20 years from now. It'll be something else will be. And so the same prayer is going to mean something different in 20 years, right? Then as you go through life, you go through different stages. Unmarried, married, married with kids. Now the kids are out of the house, retired. You had a job, now you're retired, now you're spending more time in the dumb. Everything changes and your goals change as you go through these stages, and it changes according to your advancement also. What's important in a more advanced stage is not important at a lower stage, and vice versa. At a lower stage, certain things are important and the advanced things are not because you don't relate to them. Doesn't matter. So, when you get there, they're important. You can't make them important before they are. I don't know, that's a little abstract, but it gives you something to work with. Right? Yes? Manish. Manisha says, one more question. It was triggering me so long. Nama Prabhu is so pure. that it can counteract to all the obstacle. It can purify the atmosphere in a matter of seconds. Then why is there nam aparad? Yeah. Nam aparad is like, it's like we were talking before. Sometimes you go to the temple and you see the deity, and you're not really, you haven't been so Krishna conscious, so you see the deity, and it's like, it's not that impactful because your consciousness is not able to appreciate the deity, right? But the deity is, it's Krishna fully manifest, but not fully manifest to you due to some impurity in your consciousness. So in some impurity in which the way we chant the holy name, then the holy name does not reveal itself purely to us. And so, you know, the name that you, when you say Krishna, and Srila Prabhupada says Krishna, what Srila Prabhupada, the name as Srila Prabhupada is saying it is Krishna fully manifest. The name, as we're saying it, is not Krishna fully manifest. So Prabhupada experiences Krishna fully manifest. We don't. Right? Does that make sense? So it's Krishna, but not fully manifest due to impurities in our own consciousness, impurities in our own ability to chant. I mean, you can't chant more purely than you are pure. So you try to do your best. And then as you do better, you're produce when you're more advanced, you're producing a different name of Krishna, or we could say you're experiencing a more fuller aspect of Krishna. So it's like the more you advance, the more you advance. So the more you're advancing, the more you're experiencing Krishna, the more you're experiencing Krishna, the more you advance, vice versa. The less you advance, the less you advance. The more you offend, the less you experience Krishna, the more you'll offend. The less you experience Krishna, the less inspired you will be, the worse your chanting will be, the less inspired you'll be, the less realization you'll have. So it works against you or for you. But it's the same Krishna, but it's not the same Krishna because you're not manifesting the pure form of Krishna with Namaparad. Right? You know, like everyone who saw Krishna didn't see Krishna. It's the same Krishna, but they didn't see him. So everyone who chants is not seeing the full holy name. Depends on their consciousness. Um, yes. So, but the answer to this question is realized by chanting properly. If you just chant well, you will have this experience. So this Krishna that's appearing in this name right now is different than the Krishna that appeared yesterday when I was distracted while I was chanting, or I wasn't in the right mood when I was chanting. But now that I'm in the right mood, I'm not distracted, I'm experiencing Krishna more fully. And you know, Krishna's unlimited, so you can unlimitedly experience him. And that's also an impetus to think, well, I could fully experience Krishna in his name. That's amazing. I just have to try, be more pure, right? Think that day will come and you'll get Krishna. And then, wow, you won't want anything else. You will want nothing more. If you actually had the pure holy name, that would be better than anything else you could ever imagine. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ko Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So I'm supposed to have a red face for 2 to 4 weeks, but bear with me. It's not ecstatic symptoms, I don't think. Oh, we can broadcast. Mahatma Prabhu is having ecstatic symptoms. It's the 9th symptom, red face. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm going to go, but you're all invited to stay you can stay for a japa class. And we'll see you Friday. And you can all learn Russian on Friday. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.